NASCAR is about to send 40 Cup Series drivers onto a street circuit that is literally still being finished. Railroad tracks cutting through the racing surface, corners that drop downhill at full throttle, and a stretch of pavement that runs directly alongside San Diego Bay, where if the walls don't save you, the Pacific Ocean might be your co-pilot. This isn't hyperbole. This is next weekend at Naval Base Coronado. And the drivers, they have no idea what they're walking into. The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Naval Base Coronado in San Diego for just the second ever street course race in series history, and the most ambitious one yet. The circuit stretches 3-4 miles, nearly a mile and a half longer than the Chicago street course that debuted this concept. It features high-speed straightaways into sudden braking zones, a series of challenging corner combinations, legitimate bumps in the road, including active railroad tracks, and sections that were still being paved as of last weekend in Michigan. Up to 36 corner workers are expected on site. Teams have requested as many as 7 or 8 spotters per car. And drivers have been running simulator sessions just trying to memorize a track that nobody has ever actually raced on. When NASCAR first brought the Cup Series to downtown Chicago in 2023, it was a genuine gamble. Street course racing had never been part of the modern Cup playbook, but the event drew attention, created chaos, and gave the sport a different kind of storyline. So NASCAR doubled down, and now they pushed the concept to a different level entirely. San Diego is not Chicago. Chicago was a compact 90-degree heavy layout that punished mistakes at low speeds. San Diego will punish mistakes at high speed. That's a different risk equation altogether. When drivers push the limits of turn 1, described by multiple drivers as a serious commitment of speed, there's no gentle consequence waiting on the other side. From a championship standpoint, this race falls in a part of the calendar where playoff positioning is still very much in play. A single crash, a blown call on a late break point, a moment of misjudgment on those rough railroad sections could end a team's season before the playoffs even begin. The margin for error here is essentially zero. And a safety question cannot be ignored. Just weeks ago at Watkins Glen, NASCAR faced criticism for its response time when Cody Ware hit a barrier hard. That incident forced a direct conversation about resources and visibility on road courses. Now NASCAR is walking into the most complex layout it has ever attempted, on a military base next to open water with sight lines that the drivers themselves are calling difficult. The sport's credibility in managing this safely is being tested in real time. The single most important thing to understand about San Diego versus Chicago is this: Chicago killed you with its walls. San Diego will kill you with its speed. At Chicago, the threat was always a slow speed pileup at a 90-degree corner. The cars would bunch up, someone would misjudge the gap, and suddenly you had 6 cars stacked into a barrier 40 miles an hour. Embarrassing, dangerous, but survivable. At Coronado, you're looking at drivers coming off long, open straights and trying to break a 3,400-pound stock car down into a tight corner with imperfect road surfaces underneath them. Ryan Blaney described Turn 1 as a high-commitment corner. In race car language, that means you're already going too fast when you decide whether to commit. There's no halfway on it. And when drivers are pushing for position against each other, the calculation gets worse. Now factor in the track surface itself. Sections still being paved as of last weekend. Patches over railroad tracks that teams hope will hold up. Ryan Blaney said the exit of Turn 5 is, quote, super rough. When Ryan Blaney, a championship-level driver who chose his words carefully all season, starts using that kind of language about a new venue, you listen. There's also a strategic wrinkle that doesn't get enough attention. Ryan Preece specifically called out ride quality on the straights. On a course this large, a car that's loose and unstable on a long straight loses measurable time over every single lap. That means setup decisions made in the garage Friday could be race-defining. Teams that chase downforce for corner stability might give away straight-line speed, and vice versa. It's the kind of setup puzzle that separates elite engineering groups from the rest of the field. Expect top-tier organizations to have an advantage, while mid-pack teams are basically guessing until they actually hit the track. And the spotter situation should not be treated as a footnote. Teams asking for 7 or 8 spotters is not normal. That tells you something about how complex and blind this circuit really is. At a track where sightlines are poor, a car sitting stationary in Turn 8 can be invisible to a driver coming at full speed. NASCAR improved its safety protocols here, but the drivers are essentially asking for an entire second crew just to keep them from plowing into unseen wreckage. That's a sobering detail. The fan base is already splitting into the usual camps on this one. Half the NASCAR audience is genuinely excited. A race on a military base next to San Diego Bay with a track nobody fully understands yet. That's compelling television. The unpredictability alone is a selling point for casual viewers. Joey Logano compared it to a Fast and Furious movie, and you can bet that quote is going to be everywhere this week. But the other half of the fan base, the traditionalists, the purists, the people who still consider road course events a concession rather than a feature, are quietly nervous. And honestly, they're not wrong to be. When drivers are joking about swimming in San Diego Bay, there's a layer of gallows humor underneath that joke that real NASCAR fans pick up on immediately. The media reaction has been sharp. Denny Hamlin has already gone on record wanting more accountability from NASCAR and Fox on how incidents get handled. That's not a throwaway comment. When a veteran driver and team owner is publicly calling for higher standards before a race even starts, it signals a level of concern inside the garage that doesn't usually make it to a press conference. The broader narrative for analysts will center on this question. Is NASCAR growing the sport with events like this, or is it accumulating risk faster than its safety infrastructure can handle? Both arguments are legitimate right now. The extra spotters and 36 corner workers do their job. The track holds together despite the rough sections. One or two contenders wreck early, but the majority of the field finds a rhythm on a 3-4-mile layout that actually allows passing and genuine racing. The event delivers something Chicago never could, a full road course feel with the drama of a street circuit. NASCAR looks bold. The sport earns new fans. Coronado becomes a permanent fixture on the calendar. A multi-car wreck at turn 1 on the opening lap, a car stuck in a blind corner that takes out 3 championship contenders before the spotters can react. And a broadcast that struggles to explain what's happening to confused viewers at home. If a serious injury occurs on a surface that drivers said was still being finished last week, NASCAR faces a genuine credibility crisis about whether speed of execution outpaced safety preparation. This is the version that gets played on every criticism reel for the next decade. Here's the honest question that nobody in the garage wants to say out loud. Is NASCAR going too fast with street courses? Chicago worked imperfectly, chaotically, but it worked. San Diego is a different beast. Bigger, faster, rougher, and less understood. And the drivers who are paid to push every boundary are telling you in plain language that they don't fully know what they're getting into. So drop it in the comments. Do you think San Diego becomes a classic moment in NASCAR history, or the race that forces the series to pump the brakes on street course expansion? And if you think Brad Keselowski's survival race prediction is right, hit that like button, because he usually calls these things early. If you're not subscribed yet, this is the channel where we don't just report the news. We tell you what it actually means. We'll have full coverage all week as the teams arrive in San Diego and we find out what this track really looks like.